Bloodborne Legacy. Hemlock Creek was a forgotten land, where eerie silence laced the air like a deadly poison, and whispers slithered through gnarled branches like serpents. In the suffocating stillness, Eliza yearned for a symphony to break the monotony. Her fingers traced the dusty shelves of her grandmother Nana's attic, coming to rest on a weathered grimoire hidden in a musty trunk. A forbidden energy hummed from its leather cover, drawing her closer with each passing moment, until she could resist no longer. As she opened its pages, tales of powerful women who could bend shadows and command storms flooded her mind, igniting a fire within her that burned with endless possibilities. A tantalizing blend of curiosity and rebellion coursed Eliza's veins. Under the cloak of star-dusted nights, she delved into the mysteries and secrets hidden within the grimoire's lines. With each incantation, a surge of power flowed through her body, a dark energy that entangled itself in her soul. She started with simple spells, conjuring delicate wildflowers and coaxing stray cats with whispered enticements. But as she delved deeper into the forbidden knowledge, a sinister thrill fueled her desire for more dangerous magic. Eliza's deepest desires spun into existence, and a kaleidoscope of vivid dreams danced before her eyes. A vase, once shattered and forgotten, stood whole, and after years of secret longing, a forbidden love finally confessed their feelings. But as Eliza basked in the glow of her manifested wishes, the shadows in the corners of her mind began to distort, taking on monstrous forms like fiercely crouched wolves. The wind, once a gentle lullaby, hissed ominous warnings in a language she could not decipher, and Nana, usually so wise and serene, displayed a palpable fear as she whispered cryptic cautions about the ravenous hunger that lurks within great power and the steep price it demands for illicit desires. As Eliza explored more of the worn pages of the grimoire, she felt a connection to her ancestors and their powerful legacy. Through the intricate tapestry of her bloodline, she uncovered women who were shunned and feared due to their ability to wield powerful and potentially dangerous magic. They had summoned an ancient force, a being shrouded in whispers and shadows, hungry for not only obedience, but a merging of blood and power. The contents of the pages were both tempting and unnerving, immersing Eliza in the twisted past of her family. The price manifested, revealing itself in chilling and violent ways. A neighbor's cow was discovered with its throat savagely ripped open, the ground beneath it bearing an ominous crimson sigil. Whispers of a cursed swamp circulated among the villagers, and Eliza's childhood friend became one of its victims, disappearing without a trace. As time passed, Eliza's nightmares seeped into reality, tormenting her with horrific visions of a skeletal creature with eyes like burning embers, its raspy voice tempting her with promises of power in exchange for her very soul. A lingering sense of foreboding intensified with each passing day. With a heavy heart and mounting dread, Eliza was consumed by the need to break the binding between herself and the entity. Scouring the grimoire's pages, she uncovered a cryptic ritual of reversal, a desperate attempt at severing the ties to her ancestors. In the dim light of the waning moon, Eliza stood amidst the eerie stillness of the forbidden swamp, surrounded by twisted cypress trees. Eliza's rhythmic chanting echoed through the misty swamp, awakening the forest surrounding her. With each beat, she felt herself becoming one with the murky waters. The shadows twisted and writhed, taunting her with their bony fingers, daring her to keep moving ahead. Suddenly it materialized before her, a monstrous creature composed of bleached white bones that intertwined and jutted out at odd angles. Evil seeped from the being's very core, enveloping it in a shroud of darkness. Its eyes were two burning embers, malevolent, unblinking, and fixed on Eliza, its mouth a gaping hollow of jagged teeth. Its relentless whispers filled Eliza's mind, promising unimaginable power if she surrendered to its will. Yet within her, the same blood that had first bound her to the creature now roared with defiance. A blaze ignited within her depths, a tangible force that filled Eliza with an aura of furious energy, a strength she hadn't known existed. As the entity lunged toward her, its skeletal appendages outstretched, she met its gaze, shouting the final words of the incantation into the still night air. The reaction was immediate. A blinding light blanketed both Eliza and the entity, forging a radiant barrier between the two. The whispering wind became a cyclone of electricity, stirring up the stagnant swamp water and tearing at the gnarled roots of the trees. The sigil beneath her feet glowed like molten iron, radiating an intense heat that seeped into her bones. As the haunting melody of Eliza's voice filled the air, tendrils of shimmering light emerged from her outstretched hands, coiling tighter around the monster. Its ghostly form writhed and thrashed, trapped by the otherworldly chains that bound it. The monster's piercing shrieks echoed through the dark forest as it fought against the entrapment, but Eliza's song remained unyielding. Drawing on every last reserve of strength she possessed and calling upon the spirits of her ancestors, Eliza strained against the magical chains connecting her to the beast. The descendants' voices joined hers, rising in a defiant chorus, pushing back the shadows of the swamp. The creature's eyes flared bright one last time before it began to dissolve, consumed by the brilliant inferno summoned by Eliza's sorcery. Eliza and the creature collapsed onto the ground, a faint spark of electricity still linking them together. The entity's ethereal form trembled with fury, its claws extended and its eyes glowing red. But as it lunged towards Eliza, she stood firm with her back straight, her chin lifted. The power of generations of witches flowed through her veins, making her impervious to the creature's rage. Eliza raised her hand, the air around her thickening. A loud crack resounded through the swamp, sending birds scattering into the sky. The entity let out a clamorous roar as Eliza's power shattered it into countless pieces. The fragments dissolved into hushed whispers that dissipated on the breeze. Lowering her hand, Eliza took a deep breath, feeling her connection to the being finally severed. Eliza fell to her knees, drained from the intense battle. However, she felt a sense of triumph as she had conquered challenges that she once thought were insurmountable. The heart pounded in her chest, the sound of the entity's final screams echoing in her ears. She felt the swamp closing in around her, the whispers and taunts of a moment earlier replaced by the gentle rustling of reeds and the distant croaking of frogs. All was calm and in balance, the silence itself a soothing balm. The energy within Eliza ebbed, retreating into the depths of her being, her connection to her ancestors stronger than before. She cast a final glance at the spot where the entity had been, but all that remained was swirling fog, nature's unseen force spinning the vapors. The Grimoire's teachings had not been in vain. She had wielded them with skill and courage in the face of a formidable enemy. A chilling discovery marred Eliza's triumphant return home. Nana, her beloved caretaker and only true family, lay lifeless in her bed. Her thin frame bore the burden of Eliza's rebellion against the malevolent forces that had corrupted their once peaceful town. In Hemlock Creek, the air was thick with an ominous dread, its secrets so terrifying that even the bravest souls dared not speak of them. Deep within Eliza's very essence, an ember of the entity's insatiable hunger still burned, promising to claim the next generation as its sacrificial prey. The victory was won, but at what cost? Fractured Echoes. Emilia Thorne, a young and passionate artist, inherited a crumbling Italian villa that stood tall against the rolling hills. It was shrouded in whispers of tragedy, its walls steeped in dark secrets. Legend had it that within its decaying halls hung a cursed portrait, its veiled figure promising power at a gruesome price. Emilia, fueled by ambition and a thirst for inspiration, couldn't resist the pull towards the villa's mysteries. As she wandered through its corridors, she sensed the weight of history bearing down on her shoulders, but it was the portrait that drew her in like a moth to flame. Shrouded in swaths of crimson silk, it dominated the grand hall with an air of mystery and danger. Emilia felt a magnetic pull toward it, her fingers itching to tear away the veil and uncover the secrets it held. And one moonlit night, she succumbed to temptation, the silk yielding to her touch with a whispering rustle. Gasped breaths and flickering candlelight revealed a woman, breathtakingly beautiful with eyes like onyx pools. But there was something off about her, something that sent chills down Emilia's spine. It was her smile, wide and crimson-stained, that seemed to taunt Emilia from within the painting's frame. And as she stared into those haunting eyes, Emilia knew that she had uncovered something far beyond what she had bargained for. As Emilia peered closer at the portrait, she saw that the woman's eyes were not just shadows, but held an inhuman glow. The nameplate below read, Olivia Thorne, and beneath it, a chilling inscription, "The blood of those who gaze upon me is my sustenance." Curiosity morphed into obsession as Emilia researched her ancestor's life, uncovering dark secrets of forbidden arts and a rumored pact with the shadows. It was said that Olivia Thorne was not simply a painter, but also a vampire, using the villa's guests to maintain her eternal youth and powers. And the portrait? It wasn't just a canvas, but a conduit for Olivia's spirit to feed. As Amelia delved deeper, she heard Olivia's whispers in her dreams, promising unimaginable beauty and power in exchange for a single sip of crimson. Repulsed at first, Amelia couldn't help but feel an unnerving pull toward the darkness. But hunger grew like a serpent inside her, hissing in agreement with Olivia's promises. One night, unable to resist any longer, Amelia pricked her finger and let a single drop of blood fall onto the image of Olivia's painted lips. In an instant, the portrait crackled with electricity, and Olivia's eyes flared bright red. Amelia's heart raced as she gazed at the full moon, feeling a surge of energy course through her veins. The world came alive in a new way, with every scent and sound heightened. But this newfound power came at a grisly cost, the insatiable hunger for blood. Each night, Amelia prowled the villa grounds, seeking out unsuspecting guests to quell her thirst. But with each feeding, fear and guilt consumed her, distorting her reflection into a demon-eyed fiend. In the portrait on the wall, Olivia's sinister smile seemed to widen. The more Amelia's humanity slipped away, Olivia continued to whisper temptations of greater power, of making the entire village a hunting ground. The artist and the vampire were intertwined now, two sides of the same dark coin dancing under the moonlight. And then one fateful night, a young couple wandered into their lair, unaware of the danger lurking within. The young couple, John and Elena, had been exploring the villa's grounds, drawn by its eerie beauty and the legends that whispered on the breeze. As they stepped into the grand hall, the painting caught their attention. John couldn't shake the feeling that there was something familiar about the woman's face, so hauntingly beautiful, yet twisted by an inhuman hunger. Elena studied the portrait uneasily, her intuition urging her to leave. As they hesitated, Amelia emerged from the shadows, a seductive smile playing on her lips. Her once vibrant features now leached of color, eyes glowing crimson as she regarded her prey. John's heart skipped a beat when he saw her resemblance to Olivia. Was it a family resemblance or something more sinister? As Amelia closed in on them, fangs bared, Elena grabbed a dagger from the sheath on her hip, slashing the painting, screaming for John to run. Olivia's image screamed in agony, her power momentarily severed. In their frenzied escape, the couple stumbled upon a hidden library brimming with tomes on vampirism. Dusty pages revealed a way to break the curse. The blood of a willing Thorne family member must be spilled upon the portrait's veiled figure during a lunar eclipse. Amelia pursued them relentlessly, her cries echoing through the corridors like the howls of a trapped beast. But tonight was destiny's dance, and the moon hung heavy in the sky like a bloody orb, a lunar eclipse at its zenith. John and Elena somehow ended back where they had started. They stood back to back, swords drawn as they faced the vampire Amelia. The moon shone through the stained glass windows, casting an eerie red glow over the grand hall, illuminating the tattered portrait of the long-dead queen. Amelia's fangs glistened in the light as she crept closer, her eyes fixed on her prey. Glancing down, John's hand shook as he read the ancient family crest carved into the marble floor. It read, "In blood we rise, in blood we fall." John's heart pounded in his chest as he met Elena's terrified gaze, for he knew what he must do. He nodded and she understood, for he wasn't just another vampire hunter, he was also a Thorne, a descendant of the fierce bloodline known for its ties to the dark and undead. But tonight, he had not come to fulfill his supposed duty. His true purpose was to protect the lineage by offering himself as a sacrifice to save them all from extinction. In a final act of love, John thrust the glistening blade into his own heart, the cold steel piercing the flesh and bone. A crimson stream splattered across the intricate details of the canvas, each drop forming its own brushstroke, adding depth and emotion to the already haunting masterpiece. As his life ebbed away, John's blood seeped into every crevice and corner of the canvas, forever merging his essence with the art he so cherished. Olivia's ethereal form let out a blood-curdling scream as her image disintegrated. The once beautiful portrait blazed with an intense fire, reducing Olivia's likeness to nothing but ash. And with the destruction of the painting, the curse itself lifted and dissipated into the air. Amelia's body crumpled to the ground, her legs giving way from exhaustion. She gasped for breath, feeling the weight of humanity settle back into her bones. As the sun rose, its blinding rays brought with it a sense of hope and rebirth. John's selfless act had bestowed upon them the chance at redemption, a priceless gift that Amelia and Elena would never forget. Vowing to repair the villa and unravel the darkness Olivia had woven into its very foundation, the two women forged a bond. Together they embarked on a new journey, determined to restore the reputation of the Thorne family and transform it into a beacon of hope and radiance, rising from the ruins of despair, grief, and shadow. Mirrored Mayhem. The Viridian mirror was delivered on a noisy truck, a gilded monstrosity that seemed to come from another time. Its silver frame was tarnished and decorated with carved gargoyles, giving the illusion of mirth, but emanating a cold aura from its warped surface. To the Miller family, it was an unusual inheritance, a whimsical addition to their comfortable home. Little did they know, hidden within the mirror's shimmering depths was a menacing presence, a malevolent jester known as Grimaldi, who was bound to a world of darkness. In the dead of night, when the house was quiet and still, faint whispers would creep through the empty hallways like a chill wind. The unsettling sound of giggles echoed off the walls, causing Sarah, the eldest, to shudder in her bed. Objects would shift and move as if being touched by unseen hands. At first, Sarah dismissed it as her overactive imagination, but then she saw it. Her reflection in the Viridian glass shimmered with an eerie light, and within her own image, there was a flicker of a malevolent grin that seemed to be taunting her from another plane of existence. A cold fear gripped Sarah as she realized that she was not alone in this house, and whatever resided there had dark intentions. As David stumbled through the maze of his home office, his own laughter echoed back at him, chilling and mocking. Lucy woke to find her beloved stuffed animals transformed into horrifying caricatures, their once comforting eyes now filled with sinister glee, and the eerie green reflections in the Viridian mirror seemed to come alive, taunting the family with their deepest fears and insecurities, turning their anxieties into tangible nightmares. The Millers, driven by their desperate need to understand and confront their tormentor, delved into dusty archives filled with whispers of the mirror's dark history. After much searching, they uncovered a forgotten carnival, now swallowed by shadows and long abandoned after a devastating fire. The Viridian, they learned, was the portal through which Grimaldi, the vengeful master of the carnival, entered their world. Despite the warnings and dangers, the Millers' morbid curiosity compelled each of them to touch the smooth surface of the mirror. In an instant, they were transported to a twisted carnival shrouded in an eerie twilight. Rusty rides creaked and groaned with otherworldly laughter, while spectral balloons glowed with an unnatural light. And there, standing before them, was Grimaldi, a nightmare come to life, his form sculpted from malevolent shadows and fueled by unquenchable hunger. He was a grotesque parody of a jester, his crimson grin stretched from ear to ear, a stark contrast against his soot-blackened skin. His eyes, two burning coals set deep in their sockets, bore into them with a hunger for fear and terror. They were no longer in control, mere puppets dangling on the strings of his warped reality. Sarah's deepest fear manifested before her, a failure as an artist brought to life in the form of a monstrous, sentient canvas that devoured her every brushstroke. David was forced to confront his inadequacy as a father when a spectral child appeared before him, accusing him of neglect. Lucy was transported to a playground of nightmares where her once beloved stuffed animals writhed in eternal torment. The air was thick with the stench of decay and despair, amplifying the horror of their twisted reflections. As their fear threatened to overwhelm them, a spark of defiance ignited within each of them. Sarah's memories of her love for art burned brighter than her doubts as she used her charcoal like a torch, erasing the monstrous canvas before her. David mustered the courage to apologize and repair his fractured bond with his daughter as they clutched onto one another, a shield against the encroaching shadows. And Lucy, with a burst of childish bravery, tore apart the stitched seams of her nightmares, freeing the imprisoned souls within and reclaiming her power over fear. The carnival ground trembled beneath their feet as they battled. Grimaldi, his face twisted with anger and fear, conjured up shadows that slithered and swirled around them. But the Millers stood strong, their hands glowing with a golden light as they pushed back against the dark magic. Amidst the chaos, Sarah's eyes caught a glint of green from within Grimaldi's chest. She knew it was the source of his power, a shard of the Viridian gemstone. With determination fueling her actions, she lunged towards him and slammed her hand against his chest. The shard shattered into pieces, causing Grimaldi to let out an ear-piercing scream as he dissipated into a thick black mist, being pulled back into the depths of the Viridian. The carnival was finally free from his clutches. As the millers stumbled through the swirling vortex of lights and shadows, they held to one another's hands. The carnival music grew fainter, and the distorted realm faded into wispy tendrils of smoke. Finally, they stumbled back through the mirror and collapsed onto their living room floor, gasping for breath. But even as they celebrated their victory over Grimaldi and his twisted dimension, a chill ran down Sarah's spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As she gazed into the murky depths of the Viridian, she felt a cold chill run down her spine. In the reflection, a faint glimmer of an ominous smile appeared, a haunting reminder that Grimaldi's darkness still lurked within the mirror, biding its time to ensnare its next unsuspecting prey. Though they had defeated him once, his malevolence remained, ready to pounce on any who dared peer into its cursed surface. Midnight dash. Melissa stumbled out of the crowded club, her ears still ringing from the pulsating music. She squinted at the bright neon signs of Manhattan as she weaved her way through the city streets, the smells of champagne and tequila mingling in her foggy mind. Her dead phone was buried deep in her purse, and she was unable to hail a cab. Just when she started to feel hopeless, a sleek black car appeared from the shadows offering her salvation. The driver's rough voice assaulted her senses when he asked if she needed an Uber. Melissa eagerly climbed into the back seat, grateful for a ride. The car's interior was a mix of old and new, with hints of musty leather and a dampness that added to her disorientation. The scent brought back memories of her grandfather's antique shop, where she'd played hide and seek as a child. She slurred out her destination, the East Village. As they drove through the city, Melissa felt like she was in a hearse. The speedometer remained stuck at 0, while Jeff, the driver, seemed almost a ghostly figure in the darkness. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, humming a haunting tune as he drove, seemingly disconnected from his own body. Fear crept into Melissa's drunken haze as she attempted to make conversation with Jeff, but it was like speaking to a mere shadow instead of an actual human being. Suddenly, a burst of static erupted from the radio, its sound whispers of forgotten secrets. The car filled with an eerie atmosphere as the voices grew louder and more distinct. In the blink of an eye, the bustling city vanished, leaving behind a desolate landscape of barren trees reaching toward a blood-red sky. The pale light of the moon cast an eerie glow over everything, stripping the environment of all color and leaving it in shades of bone and ash. The air was still and heavy, weighing down on Melissa's chest like a suffocating blanket. Panic clawed at her insides as she realized she had been transported to a realm beyond her comprehension. Mr. Jeff," she stammered, her voice barely audible in the oppressive silence. What is happening? Where are we?" Jeff turned his head slowly, his eyes devoid of any human emotion, his lips curled into a sinister smile. "Welcome to the in-between, Melissa, a place where lost souls find themselves, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead." Panic coiled in Melissa's gut as she reached for the door handle, but it disintegrated beneath her touch. Jeff's eyes glinted like molten gold, his face etched with wrinkles. He spoke stories of ancient deities, rituals, and blood sacrifices, each word hardening Melissa's fear into a crystalline clarity. The Uber ride had taken a dark turn, morphing into a twisted journey through a nightmare realm. The car screeched to a halt in front of a massive monolith crafted from obsidian. Its surface pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Jeff stepped out of the car, his figure silhouetted against the ominous glow, inviting Melissa to join him on the descent into darkness. Melissa's heart pounded in her chest as she watched Jeff disappear into thin air, and though she felt a mixture of fear and curiosity, the alluring power of the mysterious void was too strong for her to resist. With a deep breath, she flung open the car door and stepped out onto the cold ground. As soon as her feet touched the earth, a jolt of energy surged through Melissa's body. The monolith loomed before her, pulsating with an otherworldly intensity that seemed to match the rhythm of her own heartbeat. Fascinated and compelled, she took hesitant steps forward, drawn closer to the source of its power. Melissa stumbled through the dark, each step forward seemingly charging the monolith, her presence somehow willing it to life. As she drew closer, Melissa noticed strange symbols etched into its smooth surface. Tentatively, Melissa reached out, running her fingers over the intricate patterns, feeling a sense of recognition wash over her. As her gaze lifted to the darkening sky, Melissa's heart lurched in horror as she spotted the grotesque forms of creatures with mangled, tattered wings descending on her. The air was filled with a cacophony of rasping screeches, each one like a sharp knife piercing her eardrums. Melissa cringed and covered her ears, stumbling backward, the weight of the moment settling heavily upon her. A soft voice broke through the pandemonium. "Melissa," it whispered, "you hold the key." Confused, Melissa searched for the source of the voice, finding no origin for the sound. Instead, a small golden key glinted in the darkness, nestled within a crevice of the monolith. Trembling with anticipation, Melissa reached out and grasped it in her hand. As soon as her fingers closed around the key, a surge of power coursed through her veins. The creatures let out a final ear-splitting screech as their twisted forms unraveled and dissolved into nothingness, their grotesque silhouettes disappearing into thin air, leaving behind a void of darkness in the once blood-red sky. Slowly, the crimson tint faded away, revealing a stunning tapestry of shimmering stars scattered across the endless expanse above. Melissa stood in awe, clutching the key. Its warm glow infused her with newfound confidence and purpose. She was aware that she now possessed the means not only to flee this realm, but also to reveal the solutions to the enigmas that plagued her own world. With determination fueling her every step, Melissa turned away from the monolith and sprinted toward the car. As she climbed back into the sleek black vehicle, she glanced at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her eyes were no longer clouded with fear. They burned with an otherworldly fire. "Take me home," she commanded to the car with no driver, her voice clear and unwavering. The car lurched to life, hurtling through the now familiar streets of Manhattan. The key in her hand pulsed with energy, urging her onward to face the trials that awaited her. Jeff was nowhere to be seen, but Melissa knew he would be back. She had escaped, but she knew it was only a matter of time before he, or whatever he represented, would return. Until then, she had work to do. As the car pulled up to her apartment building, Melissa stepped out onto the sidewalk, keys in hand. The smell of exhaust and the city's never-ending buzz welcomed her back like old friends. She glanced over her shoulder at the Uber and shivered, certain that it was watching her with baleful eyes. Straightening her shoulders, she strode towards the safety of her building. Melissa's mind was a tumultuous swirl of memories from the night. Though still clouded by the potent mix of tequila and champagne, she felt an undeniable sense of rebirth. With the key in her possession and hanging from her neck, she was now a fierce protector, a warrior against the sinister creatures that lurked beneath the dazzling facade of the city lights. An inferno roared within her, fueled by a fierce determination to annihilate every last trace of darkness that threatened to consume her world. Grimoire's Greed. In the dim, cobwebbed labyrinth of arcane books, where whispers rustled between ancient spines and shadows took on a life of their own, Luna, the owner and a writer starved for inspiration, stumbled upon a treasure. Amidst the musty scent of old books and the faint perfume of incense, she spotted an unfamiliar leather-bound grimoire that pulsated with an insatiable hunger. Its cover, embossed with sigils that seemed to writhe like living creatures, drew her in with its promise of power, a siren song to her flagging career. The pages inside called out to her, tempting her with secrets and forbidden knowledge that might reinvigorate her writing. Ignoring the intricate glyphs etched into the inside cover, cryptic warnings woven into the very fabric of the book, Luna delved into its pages. The smell of ancient parchment and musty secrets filled her nostrils as she devoured each word with eager anticipation. The rituals spoke of stolen wealth and whispered fame, a symphony of illicit desires orchestrated by an unseen maestro. Her trembling fingers traced the sigils on the floor, the air crackling and distorting with each stroke. Murmurs of malevolence slinked into her ears, tempting her to utter the timeless words, offering a reward for her ambition if she succumbed. Luna's dark, ruby-red lips curled into a twisted grin as she chanted the sinister syllables, the words rolling off her tongue and dripping with venomous malice that filled the air with a palpable energy. The shelves, once stoic guardians of knowledge, swayed and groaned, their leather bindings weeping ink that pooled on the floor. shadows twisted into monstrous forms with glowing red eyes. Luna's desires, once mere whispers, consumed her like a raging inferno. Her insatiable appetite grew into a monstrous beast that devoured every inch of her soul with greed and lust. It gnawed at her from within, tearing apart any hint of reason or morality until all that remained was a savage hunger that could never be satisfied. Luna savored the sweet taste of success, her book soaring to the top of bestseller lists overnight. Awards rained down on her, each one a testament to her talent and hard work. But as she basked in the bright glow of fame and fortune, she couldn't escape the lingering bitterness that clung to her tongue. The grimoire's price tag was steep, demanding more from Luna than just her words on the page. With each passing day, her once vibrant prose grew stale and lifeless. Once so vivid and full of life, her characters morphed into hollow puppets consumed by their insatiable greed. And worst of all were the nightmares that plagued her sleep, grotesque visions born of the darkness within the pages of her book. Even in the light of day, the shadows of the bookstore whispered to her, reminding her of the debts she owed and sacrifices yet to come. For Luna, success had come at a high cost indeed. With a heart consumed by desperation, Luna delved deeper into the ancient grimoire, her fingers trembling as she searched for a glimmer of hope. She scoured every page, her eyes darting back and forth across the faded text in a frantic search for a loophole, a hidden clause to retract the cursed bargain she'd made. Despite her efforts, the book appeared to be in control, teasing her with ever-changing pages and jumbled words that laughed at her futile escape attempts. With each struggle, its hold on her grew tighter, dragging her deeper into the darkness. The once inviting bookstore became a prison, trapping Luna in her endless hunger for knowledge and devouring her from within. Luna's hands shook with terror as she unraveled a cryptic ritual, a dangerous wager against the grimoire's sinister consciousness. Its instructions were unmistakable, not a physical sacrifice, but a surrender of all desires. With quivering fingers, she tore through her life's work, painstakingly replacing scenes of power and success with stories of compassion and redemption. As the final word appeared on the page, the very foundations of the bookstore trembled. Jagged cracks snaked their way across the walls, while the once still sigils on the floor writhed like dying serpents. The bookstore, its insatiable hunger unsatisfied, lashed out with shadows clawing at Luna, seeking to smother the embers of her newfound selflessness. With a fierce cry and in a final act of defiance, Luna hurled the grimoire into the gaping maw of the abyss below. The ancient book flapped its pages in protest before disappearing into the darkness. A loud screech echoed through the air as the bookstore crumbled around her, sucked into the void along with the cursed tome. As she stumbled out into the fading light, Luna felt the remnants of ink and dust coating her throat and lungs, the acrid tang a reminder of her desperate quest for fame and success. Finally free from its grasp, she raised her head and breathed deeply, savoring the sweet feel of freedom at last. Her once beloved bookstore loomed in the distance, a shadow of its former self. It was a constant reminder of her sacrifices to achieve her dreams. The taste of success, once satisfying, now left a bitter aftertaste in her mouth. She couldn't escape the all-consuming desire for fame and recognition, but it was now coupled with a chilling realization. She had unlocked something dark and dangerous within herself. The grimoire's hold on her was unrelenting, trapping her in a never-ending battle between ambition and corruption. Luna's heart was torn between the thrill of achievement and the horror of what she had become. Each step she took toward her goals felt like descending into a bottomless pit, weighed down by her guilt and fear. She frantically clutched at every shred of hope, desperately seeking any chance at redemption, knowing her very soul depended on it.